Hello and welcome to the video for the mobile app design class for Thursday of week 16. So one thing I wanted to mention about the video, or I should say videos that I put up for Tuesday, is that the first video that I have here uh, takes us up to the point where I ran into these problems with the software. My graphics were sort of discombobulated. They weren't, there were too many gaps in between them, and they were moved over to the right and left too much. So that was very problematic. And I had other problems as well. So, I had made that video, I did a little research, and then I made a second video where I fixed the problems. And, if you had the class with me online, we basically just got up to where we were in this first video. So you probably want to check out that second video to see how I resolved some of those issues. So that's it for Tuesday. Now for today, I have a link here for you that you can check out if you like. This is a link to the jQuery mobile code page. And so this is a page which, of course, we're using jQuery mobile to power our app. And this is a page which just kind of goes in and, gives you information about how jQuery works, how to do things like footer bars and header bars and stuff like that. And so it's just a good resource for you. You may not need it. You may never have to go here in your life, which would be great, But if you need any information on things like buttons or navigation bars or anything like that, it's all here. So that's a nice resource that's available to you if you want or need it. Now today we're going to be talking about a couple things. I'm going to make some further changes to that world page, which was the new page that we added last time. And also I'm going to be swapping out the drop-down navigation menu. Now the reason I'm going to be doing that is because I found some problems with the drop-down navigation menu. That was the other problem that I had last week, or I should say earlier this week. In addition to the graphics not really lining up the way they should, the drop-down navigation menu, which of course we figured out we had to remake on every single page, it was opening, and then it wasn't. You would go, you could open it, and then you could click on a link and go to another page, and then it might be open. That menu might be open on the next page too, instead of just going to the page. And I played around with it, and I was just having problems like that in general. So I decided to scrap it. I scrapped it for two reasons. Three reasons. One, it wasn't the most attractive drop-down menu ever. I mean, it works, but it's not really going to win any awards anytime soon. So here's the example of it. In the files that I gave you for today, if we open Wildcord, just the Wildcord HTML, and we click on this little menu, well, there it is. It opens up. And it works. It looks okay. But like I said, it's probably not my favorite option as far as, hamburger menus that you can have. So it doesn't look, necessarily incredible. It doesn't work very well. Plus, we have to replicate the code on every single page we make. So those are lots of reasons to dump it, right? Now, what I've replaced it with, which already exists on the Wildcord 2 page that you have in this new folder, is this. Let me do it again because it kind of went away. So this is the brand new drop-down menu that we're going to be incorporating today, and it has several advantages. First of all, it's working basically as a pop-up menu using jQuery code, existing jQuery code, which means we don't have to copy that script and make changes for every single page just to get the code to work. Plus, it looks a little better than the other code, and we're not going to have that problem with it opening and closing sort of on its own accord. It just works. It just basically works, So we're gonna look at how to do that. Also, I've made a few updates to this world page here, and we'll look at that. So, just to briefly, go over the updates that I made. I'm trying to get this to go a little wider, which is like, it's always a pain in the butt. I don't know why it's so hard. You should just be able to grab this and move it over. Ah, there it is. There we go. Okay. So I've made a few changes here. After if you recall, I had a button that said world here that was the same color as, brown as this, and it was just kind of stuck to the top of this picture. And then this was stuck to the bottom of that, and this is obviously stuck to the bottom of that. So, after struggling with that and finally getting it to succeed, where everything was stuck together, I looked at it and I said, "Hey, this doesn't really look that good to have everything just kind of glommed together." So what I did was I made some separation between this picture and its caption and this picture and its caption, which I think looks a little better. And then I put a little space between this picture and the header here. And then I changed the header out because I thought, oh my God, it's just so horribly boring to have the same, same block of color up here. So I had this little scroll from my files, my XD files. Let me see if I can show that to you if my XD ever opens up here. Yeah, so down here I had this little scroll that I was using on one of the other pages. So I just went into Photoshop and just shrank it down, put in my text, and then after I made it in Photoshop, I basically imported it into After Effects and then just exported this single file, using the file export selected. And then what that did was it gave me the 3 different versions of it that I saved in my Dreamweaver folder. And then I could place this one here, and of course then there's the 2 extra copies for 2 times and 3 times resolution. So I like the way that looks. I like the way it breaks it up. I like the spacing between these sections. And so that's the other thing we're going to do today. So we're going to, as I said, work on this, changes aesthetically. And then we're going to also change the drop-down menu. And then we will probably look at how to, now that we've got a new setup on everything, we'll look at how to make yet another page, so that we can keep making pages for our app here. Oh, it looks like I spoke too soon when talking about this pop-up and saying, that we wouldn't have to recreate the code on every single page. It looks like there's an error here, and when you roll over it says this ID value pop-up basic must be unique. And so, I have it right now on 2 pages being called exactly the same thing. So it looks like we probably will have to make a little change to the code, but it's not going to be a huge amount of change. And let me show you what I mean by that. If we go back to the home page here, let's see, on the home page, let me just go somewhere so I can figure out where I am on the home page. Okay, so here I am on the home page, and if I go up, here we go. So here's the pop-up here. And notice that what we're doing is we're saying ahref equals pop-up basic, and then let's see, and it's a pop-up, right? So this is being called pop-up basic, and this is it right here. This is the actual pop-up that's being called, right? So here we say, okay, call pop-up basic, and then here's pop-up basic, right? Now, it's telling me that when I go over to the world page, let's see, it's just slow. It's going to work. It's just thinking here. It's telling me when I go to the world page that, it's throwing an error because it's like, hey, you're calling this thing pop-up basic too, right? So what I can do on this page, if I click on this and scroll up, you can see that we want to go to this thing called pop-up basic, right? But all we have to do is change it to pop-up basic 2, and then come down here and change this to pop-up basic 2. And now if I save this, the error goes away. So yes, we do have to slightly change some code, but this is nothing like the whole thing where we had to, in the old file where we had to copy all the script and everything like that. So that solves our problem. But that means that every time we make a new page, we're just going to have to make this simple change here. Okay, but let's go back. Let's start with the whole process of like taking this wildcard page and first of all, getting rid of, changing this pop-up here, getting rid of it, and putting the new pop-up in. So the first thing we're going to do is just get rid of this pop-up completely because it's totally a pain. So what that means is going down to the bottom of the page and finding this script here and completely getting rid of it, right? Now, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a version of this page that has the script pasted in here twice, and and has the world page in there as well, because I think that would be the most valuable. I think that's what you guys are used to, because that's where we ended up last time. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pause the video real quick and reload that version of this page here. Okay, so I went and updated this wildcore.html page to be the one that the way that it looked at the end of the last video. So once again, and this is the file that you guys will have when you open these files. I think it's the My App 6 folder we're up to now. When you open these, you'll have this brand new file. So, this is the way the website looked. We had the home button over here and the drop-down menu here. We clicked on World, and at the end of the last video, I had gotten everything to work and to be close together like that, right? So now the goal is, fix this drop-down menu, get rid of that, put in the new one, and then of course move these apart so that it looks better, and then start the process of creating a new page. So okay, so once again, let's start with the drop-down menu and getting rid of that. So the first thing we can do to get rid of the drop-down menu issue is, and I can show you that issue as well, which is that like if you click on the drop-down menu and you go somewhere like, well, here, let's go to Home, and then let's click on drop-down menu again, and let's go to World. See how this drop-down menu stays open? It should just go to World and be closed, and it's not. It's problematic, which is why we're getting rid of it. So anyway, you can come down to the very bottom of your wildcore.html page. The first thing we can do is get rid of these two scripts here. They're basically identical, except for the fact that one of them is called my function and one's called my function 2. So make sure you don't get rid of this thing here that says text JavaScript Cordova JS. Leave that alone. Just get rid of these two my function scripts, right? Second we do that, the drop-down menus aren't going to work anymore, right? Okay, so in addition, we need to get rid of these lists here. So you see where it says top navigation menu, and we have this thing, my top nav, right? So we got to get rid of that. We can go all the way up to here, and this of course is going to be on one page that we're getting rid of it, and then we also have to get rid of it on the other page as well. So that was about line 113, and now I can go up and look for a similar thing. Let's see, that was 113, so I guess I have to go down, look for the code that says top navigation. Again, let's see, I'm going back up again, going back up. Here it is, top navigation around 77. So if you click that link right there, you can get rid of all of this stuff here, right? Okay, so we got rid of the scripts, we got rid of that top navigation, which is what pops open when you do this. We have to get rid of basically this button right here. If I click on this, it'll take me to the first version of the button. So this whole thing here, there's the image itself of the button, but then here's all the JavaScript, and then there's an extra thing down here. So let's see, we can get rid of all of that, and we got to do it two places, of course, right? So there's there, and then let's see, that was probably on the home page. So now we can just look for this wildcore text again. Let's see. No, actually, that was probably on the second page. This was probably on the world page. So then we can go up, look for the wildcore text again right there, and then around line 76, and then get rid of all of this junk here. Okay, so now if I click in here, that button goes away, I can still go to the home here. That button's gone, and then if I go back to the world, that button is gone as well. Okay, and that reminds me on this page, one of the things I forgot to do was add in the text that shows where the different pages begin. So let me just do that real quick so it makes it a little easier for you guys to find this. And once again, this will be already on the page that you guys open up. So you won't have to do this, but this will help you find, the difference between the home page and the world page right now. Okay, so we've gotten rid of basically all the code that showed this drop-down menu and that operated it. So we're rid of all that icky code, right? Now the next thing we need to do is we need to move this home button over to the right because we're actually going to move the drop-down menu over here on the left and have it open up over there. So that means, it would be easiest if we just click on this home button here if it shows us where it is in the text right here. So, and of course it's covering it up a little bit there, which is kind of difficult to see. Okay, there we go. So, if you go up, you can look for the text that says wildcard, right? And then, let's see, so it says div role equals header. And then right after that is this A tag, which wraps around the home image. And then the end of the A tag is here, right? So if we just simply copy this whole thing, we can cut it out. And then we can just simply paste it in after the wildcard. Now, let's see. I'm not sure which page. Oh, I'm on the world page right now. So actually that should update, which is pretty weird that it's not. So we told the home button to go after that, but maybe it's not going to do it until we put in the new button here. Maybe then is the point where it will shift over to the right. But anyway, we got to do the same thing. We're on the world page now. We got to do the same thing with the home page. So once again, you look for the word wildcard. You grab the whole link, which is home. Let me grab this whole thing. You can cut it out, and then you can put it in after the wildcard, right? Okay, so for some bizarre reason, these aren't updating, but that's okay. We'll fix it in just a second. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to bring in our brand new navigation menu. So for that purpose, we'll go over to mobile4-30-20, and we will I'll click on this drop-down menu, which will take me to the place where this new navigation menu is set up, right? And so what you'll see is that here I am on the world page, and it says div ID equals world, and then right underneath that is the div which starts the header, right? Now, actually, the easiest way to do this, I know we moved that button over, but the easiest way to get all this code on the new page is actually just to grab the whole header and copy it and move it over to wildcard, which means, even though we move that house over theoretically in code and we didn't see it move, we're basically just going to replace all that code. So here we are in the world page on the wildcard2.html page. We're in the world page. So if you click on header, the header tab, or right here, tag, it's going to show you where that div ends. And what you want to do is you want to highlight all that code from data role equals header down to the end div. You want to copy it. And then we want to go back to wildcard HTML, and we want to find the world page, which is right here. Right? You want to find data role equals header, the same section, and you want to highlight all of that, and you want to paste in our new code. Okay. And then when we click in here, it refreshes, and now you see that the home button has moved over here, and now you can see that there's a working pop-up menu, right? Now we got to do the same thing for the home page. So, and the code there is slightly different. If you recall, we had to change the names of the pop-ups so that they were different. So this one on the world page is called pop-up basic 2. The one on the home page is just called pop-up basic. So that means that we got to go back to the wildcore2.html page. We got to scroll up to the top of the first page, right? Which is the home page, and we got to click here, div data role equals header, and see where it ends. It's basically the same kind of section here, right? We're going to copy that. We're going to go over to wildcore.html, and we're going to go up until we see the head of this document, which is, don't tell me here. So it's from here to here that we want to copy and paste. So we'll paste that, and then we should be good. If we click on this and we go to the home page, there we are, right? And you can see that this has the drop-down menu as well, and we can go back to the world page. Okay, now one thing I noticed on the Wildcore 2 page, which I want to get rid of right now, is, you know, this is the old code, the code that we just got rid of, and I commented it out when I was making my change just in case I ever wanted to bring it back, but I know for a fact now I don't want to bring it back, so I'm just going to highlight that and delete it. It'll be gone by the time you guys see this page. Okay, and then I just have some little note here about how you make things be different background images. I'm going to take that out because that's, you know, now that the header code has been updated, it doesn't have a background image in it anymore. It's just kind of, let's see, let me make sure that's true. Home data role equals button, no background. Yeah. So in an earlier version of this page, you know, I had put in text into the header, I had put in code in the header which showed you how to bring in a specific background for that page, and it's eliminated here, but you can always go back and find it in one of the earlier app folders of code. But anyway, so let me go ahead and save this Wildcore 2, and we'll save Wildcore 1. Actually, I don't want to save Wildcore 1 because, let's see. Yeah, because I want it to be messed up so that you guys can make all the changes that I'm making now. So I think I'm going to save this as Wildcore, don't save. I'm just doing this for myself right now so that I don't accidentally overwrite the original page here. So in other words, let me see if this is still messed up. Oh damn it! I saved it before after I took that code out. So that sucks. Let me see. There's no undo here. Oh my gosh, what a bummer! I can't believe I have to go back in and regenerate that code. Okay, well, such is life, right? So what I'll do is let me take another second. I'm just going to pause the video, get this page back up to where it's got that drop-down menu mess happening here, and then I'll come back. So hold on while I pause the video. Okay, I'm back after pausing the video. Sorry about that. It's kind of hard sometimes to keep track of everything because I've got one file which is brand new, which has all the code that I've already done, and I'm using that as an example to cut and paste from. And then I've got the file that we start out with, which is, you know, further back in the progression, but if I accidentally do something like make changes to it while I'm showing you this and then save it, it screws me up because I don't have it back at the original point where it was when we started watching the video. But I have gone ahead and quickly saved this back to its formerly jacked up state. So now we're good, right? Okay, so the process that we just did was to go ahead and take this and replace the header, right, with that new information. Okay, and so now we can move on to fixing this spacing right here and adding another page. So okay, so I paused the video again, and just so you know, I renamed this file wildcore.no.html. Now you guys are never going to see this file. I simply did that for myself, and I closed the file which was called wildcore.html because this confusion between the page that I'm updating and the old page. I just wanted to make a page here that has all the updates on it, but don't not take the chance of overwriting the original page. So I gave it a different name. But when you guys have your files open, you'll have a file here called wildcore.html and one called wildcore2.html. And this page will start out being kind of messed up, kind of older, and as you follow the video and make the changes, it will look better. Okay, but here we are. This header thing has been changed, to have the new drop-down menu. And so now we got to look at this page and see about making the changes to improve the way it looks. So as I said on the world page, in the last video, I successfully got everything to line up and stick together. But then once I looked at that, I was like, oh, this whole section with this picture and the caption should be apart from that. This picture and the caption should be apart from that, and maybe that should change so it's not so boring. So if you recall, the way that I fixed, got these images to move up was I made this class, this style, which is called move up. And what it did at -.4 EMs, it moved these little bad boys up so that they were touching the pictures, right? So what I can do to separate these is I could come up with a brand new style, right? And which is what I did over here on the Wildcore 2 page. And that new style, of course, is called move down. And so we can copy that and put it in here. So move down does the opposite of move up. What it does is it takes the top margin of any object and puts a positive space in there, in this case 1 EM, which will move it away from whatever's on top of it, which is the opposite of this. If you put in a negative number, it will move it up. So, and you can see these numbers are different, -0.4 and 1, because I tried 0.4 at first and I didn't like it. I wanted more space, so I changed it to 1. So let's see what this looks like. Well, first of all, we have to figure what to apply this to. So it's probably going to be this picture right here. If I apply the move down, it's going to put some space between this picture and that, which is what I want. So what I can do is I can click on this and I can see it's currently using the move up class, which is what pushed it up to touch that. So if I simply change the class that it's using from move up to move down, it moves down. You can see that's a big space, and that's kind of what I liked and what I wanted. Now I can do the same thing with this picture up here, which will move this and this down from that. So if I click on that, I can find the move up class and change it to move down, and now that looks good, right? Now the next part of this was something I explained earlier, which is, I found this graphic that I'd that's a vector graphic that I'd found earlier. I opened it up in Photoshop, I smushed it down, I put some text on it, and then I imported it into XD and then exported it from XD, so I got the 3 versions of the file. So, so now what we can do is we can bring that file into this page and replace this with it. So if we go over to the Wildcore 2 HTML file and click on World and click on this, we can see what it's called. It's called Images Scroll W Ping, and it's got the width and the height there, right? So we have a choice. We can either just copy this code or we could bring it in manually from the insert menu, but it's easier to just copy the code off the Wildcore 2 page. Click over here, click on the world tag here, and then just highlight all that and right click and paste in the new code, right? Okay, so now we're good to go. We've made the changes that I wanted to make on this. We've got the brand new drop down menu, and we've got something weird happened there. Okay, I just want to double check it. So we got the brand new drop down menu, and then we've improved the spacing on this, and we put that world thing in there. Now, one thing I noticed that I didn't update was, because there's so many files floating around, down here at the bottom, this should be the latest version of the toolbar, right? And like if you look at Wildcore 2, you see that the toolbar is very different. So what I'll do once again is I'll go back into the original wildcard file, the one that you guys are going to open up and use, and I'll pause the video real quick and update the original file with that new footer bar. So hang on one second while I do that. Okay, I'm back. Whew, that's a lot of stepping in and out of the video and fixing little wonky things, but it's all good. It's all been done, so we're good to go. Okay, so we've done two of the three things I wanted to do today. Fix the drop-down menu, we fixed the spacing on this page, and put the new image in there. And so that now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and create yet another page, right? So if we go back here to our menu, our home, we can see the next page would be this thing called campaigns, right? So what we can do is we can just grab this world page here. In fact, we can even start with the text that says world page, because then we'll just be able to change that, right? But the thing to do is to click on this first tag here and see where it ends, and it ends right here, right? So you know, what we want to do is go ahead and grab from this here all the way down up to where it says that world page thing here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. We'll grab that, or we'll put our cursor right after that. We'll put our cursor up here and copy, and then we will go down here and click after this. We'll make some space and we'll paste, and now we'll change this to say campaigns page. Okay. Okay, so there's a couple things we'll want to do right away. First of all, we'll want to change the ID of this page to campaigns, so that whenever you click, you know, a campaign link like here or here or here, it'll take you down to this page, right? Next thing we want to do is we want to update the menu, the drop-down menu. Just simply change the name of the pop-up basic in two places, right? So here it's calling it pop-up basic 2, which is, you know, what was working on the world page. We'll simply change this to be pop-up basic 3, and then down here pop-up basic 3. Okay, so those are two quick changes we got to make so we don't forget them. The next thing we got to do is eliminate the content of this page, so we can click on the content tag and see where it ends, and then just basically get rid of everything in between those two areas. In fact, I find that it helps to write the word content in here so you at least know where to look, right? Okay, now so theoretically we've got our home page, we've got our world page. If we click on campaigns, we should have a brand new page that comes up. It should be blank except for the word content. So if we click on that, sure enough, that's what happens, right? Okay, so now we have to put some more content in. So I'm going to go over to XD, and I'm going to see what my campaigns page looks like. I think my campaigns page is this one right here. You know how I've been changing names of things to protect the innocent, right? I think at one point it was called characters, but now it's going to be called campaigns. So really, but if I look at this page, let's see, it's locked, so I'm gonna unlock it. You know, I don't need, wow, it's just impossible to, let's see, unlock. Okay, that should be unlocked, thank you. So I don't need that. I certainly don't need the background. I don't need any of this junk. You know, I could delete all this stuff if I wanted to, but I'm just kind of moving it just to get it out of my hair here, right? I don't need any of that stuff. Plus, I don't need this because I'm going to go ahead and make another one of these, which is going to say campaigns on it. So really, all I need is this picture of the cat with, you know, a little, you know, footer thing down there that says his name, and then a picture of this guy with a little footer, you know, caption thing down there that says his name. And of course, I'm going to, oops, I'm going to move them both away from each other. Why is that doing that? Oh, I guess he's transparent, and there's a color back there, right? So a semi-transparent color, which, you know, those things have been kind of problematic for me. So it looks like, so what I would probably do in this case is take one of my existing what we'll call these captions or banners or whatever, because this is the same size as everything else, right? So I'll probably take one of these and just, reconfigure it to say what I want it to say. Let's see, am I spelling that right? Campaigns, right? And then I'll just make copies of this and put the name of this character and the name of this character in there. And then I'll probably just take these back into Photoshop and put colored backgrounds on them so that, they look good. So let me jump out of my video here for just a second, and I'll get all this content ready. Then I'll rename it and export it, and then I'll be able, you can join me in the process of dropping it in to this new page. So let me go ahead and pause, and then we'll do that. So let me go back to XD here. This is where we started, and we'll end up in a new place in just a second. Okay, so here I am back after having made some changes here. What I did was I took this guy into Photoshop and put the background on him in Photoshop. I put the background on this guy in Photoshop. I took my Photoshop file that is set up like this, and I changed the text to say campaigns, imported all that stuff in here, and then here I took my existing banners and just changed them to the names of these two characters. So now I'm ready to rename things and export them. So I can use my rename it plugin, and I'll call this one scroll. Let's see, go lowercase here. So I can call this like scroll C for scroll campaigns. I can rename this guy. Let's see, I can call him Iron Cat Pick. Rename this guy Konu Pick. And then name this one Banner Konu or something like that. Just, names that are just a little simpler than the ones that, the long names that XD would give it. So Banner Iron Cat. Okay. So now those are all renamed. I can click on each one of them, click on my pictures, and click on this thing here, and export those. So File, Export, selected. Let's see, got to make sure I'm in the right place. Looks like I am. So I'm going to go ahead and export all those. Make sure I'm at ping and iOS 1X, and it's exported everything. So now, I just had a thought of a way to make this actually quite much easier on myself. So you know how I deleted all that content before that was in there previously and replaced it with the content button. Well, now I'm thinking if I actually put that content back in, it might make my life a little easier. I'll show you what I mean. So here's, if I go back to the world page, you can see that if I click on the content div, this is all the content that was in there, right? And the nice thing about the content that was in there already is it already has divs wrapped around it, and it also has, the spacing and everything, right? So if I go in here and I grab this content from the world page, and now I go over to my campaigns page, click on this word content, and basically paste that content back in. Now we're going to see all the world content, right? I can basically just change this to match the new information, right? So for example, this world banner is going to be exactly the same size, except instead of being called scroll W, it's going to be called scroll C. And so if I change it to that, it's going to show the campaigns. Now this one's going to be a little different because it's a different size, right? I notice that this has the move down class in it, right? So what I can do is I can highlight this whole image here and get rid of it. Keep in mind that the move down class is there. And then basically insert the image, which is the Iron Cat. So I'm going to look for Iron Cat Pick. Let's see, Iron Cat Pick, and insert that. Okay, and there it is. and then I'm going to want to put the move down class in there. So I'll say class equals move down, and sure enough, it moves down from that, right? Same dealio with the next thing here, which is this picture here. I can click on that, and I can see that this. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this banner here. So I got to replace that banner. Now this one should be the same size, but this one's called Banner Iron Cat, I think. So I could, if I wanted to, simply change it here, banner dash, and see it brings up all of the images here. So I can just click on that, and then it's going to replace that with the correct one. While I'm at it, I might as well replace this banner down here. This one's called Banner Konu. So if I highlight that and just start typing banner, I can see Banner Konu right here. And then, so it changed that, right? Now, the last thing I have to do is change this image here. Of course, this has the move down class to it, but my new image is going to be a different size than this, so I can't just change this size here. Actually, I might be able to, and it might update it here. Let's see if that'll work. So if I highlight this and I type in, let's see, this one's going to be called Konu pick, right? Let's see if it changes the width and the height. Let's see, Konu pick. No, it didn't. I don't think it did. Well, let's see what the width and the height of this thing is. This is 268, and this guy says 251, but he was the same size as that. So I know this is a funky way to do it, but you could just replace the height here as a 268, and then that would be correct, right? So, the best thing to do in this case, since it doesn't update the height, the best thing that I should have done was just delete this whole thing like I did up here. Go insert image and find the Konu pick and place it in, and then just add the move down class. That's what I did with this one. So I just did this kind of funky thing where I was experimenting to see if the width and the height would change, and it didn't, so I just manually changed that. But anyway, there we are. Very quickly, we've got a brand new page here, and we're ready to go. Okay, so those are the things that I wanted to show you today. Please continue to work on your app, and let me know if you have any questions or problems, and I'll help you out with those, and we'll do some more stuff next week. Thank you, and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.